So in my spare time, I sometimes like to listen to music that make me feel nostalgic, and I happen to listen to some of the music from a video game franchise called MySims, which was a kid-friendly version of The Sims. Listening to the music made me want to get back to playing those games. I also realized that it doesn't seem like people talk about these games, which made me want to make a video discussing about them. So this video is pretty much that. I'll be discussing all the games that I played in my preteen years and give you my take on them. Alright, let's start with the first one. The first game is about a town that had a magical builder that mysteriously disappeared, which made the town turn into a ghost town, and it's up to you to help make the town perfect again by using your magic building skills. The goal of the game is to get your town up to 5 stars by helping people move in and do tasks. The tasks come from Sims that own a business and are pretty much, hey, I need you to build this and I want it to be 3 of this item. Then you find that specific item from either trees, interacting with Sims, fish, or prospect. Finding items, or as they are called in the game, essence, is the most annoying part of the game. Prospecting is by far the worst of them all. You pick a certain area where you can use your metal detector and play hot and cold with it. Once the metal detector goes crazy, you dig and hopefully you find what you're looking for, because it's all based on luck, which is why this minigame freaking sucks. There were many times where I would dig some items that I didn't need, and it was rare for me to even find the item I was looking for. Fishing is the second most annoying minigame. You find the areas that have bubbles, you hold B, and you shake the Wii remote. You catch items in order, which is why it isn't as annoying as prospecting, but you get 2 of those items, and some items are rare to get. There's even like a glitch where you don't even collect them at some points. There was a task where I had to find 30 tiny sharks, and they were apparently rare to find, so I kinda rage quit on that task. Playing trees isn't the worst, but does require a lot of patience. You have to point the Wii remote on the tree, hold B, and shake it in order to collect the items on the tree, and how to spawn them is to either water the trees or use the fertilizer to sort of kill it. Again, it's not that bad, but it really does require a lot of patience. Interacting with Sims is the easiest way to collect items. You just have to either be nice or be mean, watch a little animation, and items appear. The only thing that is hard about it is being mean, because I don't like being mean to them. Unless it's someone like Goth Boy. And that's pretty much how you collect in the game, but what about the other stuff you can do? Let's start with the main focus of the game, building furniture. This is one of the most fun things to do in the game. It gives you enough stuff to work with so you can be a bit creative with building furniture. There are different shapes to choose from, you can use the items you collect, you can also paint using the items as well. You pretty much make it what you want it to look like, as long as there's enough space for the Sims to interact with, and that you touch all the stars in order for it to be complete. Once you are finished, you can use it for decorating in order to complete tasks or get Sims to become your best friend. You can also decorate your house, but I really see no point to it, especially since you can't invite people over. The only way to get people into your house is to glitch the game by asking a friend to either change their outfit or do a makeover, and once they're about to leave, interact with them, and then they're suddenly going around the house interacting with stuff. Another thing you can do in the game is to help people move into your town. Let me just say, there's a bunch of characters, and a lot of them are great, that I wish I had enough space for all of them to move in. The characters bring a lot of charm to this game, even though their personalities can be pretty simple. One thing I also really liked about the game is that they all have different personalities. They could have easily made them the same personalities based on their interests, like Animal Crossing, but they didn't, which I appreciate. Fun fact, when I was little, I had a crush on these characters, DJ Candy and Maria, and I would tell my cousins and my brother that DJ Candy was my girlfriend in the game, even though I told them that you can't date in the game when they would ask me, and it was pretty much a headcanon of mine. Also, for some reason, in my first playthrough, I hated this character named Violet until she growed on me when I played the other games. I don't know why I hated her. It's not like I hated goth girls because I thought Raven was cool at the time. And this purple hair girl that I can't remember her name, so I don't know why I would hate Violet. She's cool. Anyway, enough talking about the characters. Let's get back into helping the Sims move. The annoying thing about moving a Sim to your town is that you can only move one each. You can't ask multiple Sims and then have a list of them. You have to ask one, build a house, then go back to the hotel and ask another one. And if the sun's down, they all leave, and then the next day you might not see the Sim you wanted to help move because it randomizes them when it's daytime. I wish you can make a list of Sims you want to move to your town so you wouldn't have to worry about that and wouldn't have to backtrack. Once you ask a Sim to move in, you didn't start building their house. Compared to The Sims, the building mechanics is super simple and not really as fun as The Sims. There were times that I tried to be a bit creative with some of the houses, but to be honest, I don't really care about the building the houses in The Sims either. Also, you can't design the interior like The Sims. You can decorate it, but you can't make it big or small as you want, and you can't add as much rooms as you want. The interiors are all the same, but it's not the big deal because I'm terrible at building houses in the games anyway. Another option you can do into your town is kicking someone out then, or moving them to another area. Not much to say about those options, but it's good to have them. The last thing I haven't mentioned is there are times where residents will start activities outside based on their interests. I only found 3. One of them was a dance-off, one summoning a ghost, which the ghost is very weird to interact with. You can only be nice or be mean to her, and she would either like you for being nice or being mean. The third one was pretty much an awkward tea party. MySims has its flaws, but it is addicting. Once I finished the game, my thoughts were like, but I haven't done all the tasks and my town isn't completely full. I can still add more Sims to the town. I would give this game a 3.5 out of 5. On to the next one. I remember when I was little, I thought out of all the MySims games, MySims Kingdom was my favorite. Well, I won't say for certain, at least right now. It is clearly up there. The game has improved some of the stuff I had problems with the first game. The plot is that you are a peasant that becomes a wizard, or as the game calls it, a wandalier, and you go on a quest with your best friends Buddy and Lizzie to help Sims in need of your magic. Now let me tell you about Lindsay. Lindsay is that friend that's very supported when you need help and she always is there for you. And then there's Buddy, who's completely useless. Now, how helpful is Lindsay and how is Buddy so useless? Well, whenever you're stuck and don't know what to do, if you talk to Lindsay, he tells you what to do, but if you talk to Buddy, well, he says things that are related to what you need to do, but it's not helpful. Not only does Lindsay give you advice, but she also has a magic bag that helps you with scrolls. What does Buddy have? Nothing! He's literally that brother you don't want to be around for a hangout, but you have to. Like, he has to come with you because your mom forces you to. Granted, he did give an idea in the tutorial, so I'll give him that, but most of the time it's Lindsay who's very helpful, and Buddy talks about nonsense. Geek, you may be asking. You mentioned scrolls. What are scrolls? Well, I'm glad you asked. Scrolls help you unlock items that you use to direct places. It also gives you stuff to help you with these puzzle-like minigames where you have to put electricity into a device. Sometimes you have to put a gear in some places and also use pipes to water the plants. These puzzles I'm pretty much mixed with. They're not really fun, but not really torturous either. There's not much to say about the puzzles, you just have to find out which wire, gear, or pipe to use in order to complete it. Nothing really special. Anyway, back to scrolls. In order to use them to unlock stuff, you need certain types of essence, which I find this idea of collecting essence more fun than just collecting them in order to design furniture. They definitely improve collecting essence in this game. It is less annoying than the first game. Prospecting has improved a lot. When you find a place to dig, you don't just dig for 4 of certain essence, but multiple essence, and what you collect depends on what island you are on. Trees are also an improvement. Instead of them having only 4 at a time, they grow more than 4. Also, I didn't mention this, but in the first game, there's an option where you can chop down a tree, and the only thing I don't like about that option is that it kills the tree instantly, and the only way to get it back is that you plant one and wait for it to grow, which takes forever. In this game, planting is actually pretty quick, and chopping a tree doesn't automatically kill them, which is convenient. There's also a new way to collect essence, and that's mining, which is pretty similar to prospecting. You play hot and cold, and once you are hot, you start mining. You can also pull these dandelions, and if you pull 4 at a time, you collect different types of essence, which is kind of fun. The only change I don't really like is fishing. They made it more like actual fishing, where you find a fish in the water, you go towards it, wait for the hook to go in deep into the water, and to shake the Wii remote to collect the fish. This could have been an okay mechanic, but I'm impatient, and I just want to collect the essence a bit quicker. And that's kind of what the first game did with fishing. Another convenient thing about collecting essence, and instead of having to walk towards them to collect them, like the first game, the essence actually goes towards you, which is pretty neat. The next thing I want to discuss are tasks. Instead of tasks being centered around building furniture, there are different types of tasks to do. My least favorite tasks are the ones where you have to chase animals to get them into a certain area, and sometimes they get stuck and they go into different directions. It is really frustrating. My second least favorite are the ones where you have to build something that they want you to build specifically on how to build it, which takes away the creativity of it. My favorite is obviously building things. In this game, you can decorate exterior however you like, as long as it's exactly the amount of icons the Sims want for their place. I call them icons, but they're actually interests and stuff you can do to decorate has these interests, and it's pretty complicated to describe, so I won't be any help in explaining it. However, I will talk about another thing you in need of building stuff, which is mana. I guess they were trying to make it difficult, but it's pretty easy to find mana, so once you don't have enough to build stuff, it's kind of a waste of time, since again, they're easy to find. You also don't need to worry about losing some, because it's easy to find mana. The last thing about task I haven't talked about is socializing, which is sort of a puzzle to persuade a sim to do what you want them to do, but trying to pick a thing to talk about that would interest them. Once they start to like you, you succeed in that task. One thing I haven't mentioned is that this game is more story-based than the first game, and the story is, well, not great. The dialogue is pretty bland, and the plot of the islands are really simple and not super creative. There's some interesting ideas in the story, like at one point, you find a grandma who owns a bakery in a spooky island, and her bakery is so colorful that no one wants to buy cookies from her, so you have to make it look spooky in order for her business to grow. It's not mind-blowing, but I kind of like the concept. There's also a love story about a prince and who's in love with Violet, and the queen doesn't like that because tradition, or she thinks Violet is a witch. Again, not mind-blowing, but an okay concept. The characters are definitely charming, especially Buddy and Lindsay's interactions with each other. Lindsay being annoyed with Buddy's stupidity and Buddy being unwise about it. There was a time I kind of chuckled at a moment where Buddy was being embarrassing and Lindsay says, "Let's pretend we don't know, Buddy." I thought that was kind of funny. The last thing I haven't talked about is the clothing option. I would say this game definitely made me want to change clothes. There are a lot of interesting clothing to find in this game, but the problem with this option is that it has categories. I understand they were trying to be a bit organized, but every time you pick a category, there's always a loading screen. Again, I understand they wanted to be organized, but because it has to load every category, then there's really no point. Just have the clothes together. There was no problem with that in the first place. Overall, this game was definitely an improvement to the first game, especially since it has less lag. This first game had a ton of lag, and I don't know if that's just a copy of the game that I got, or that's how the game is. I'll give MySims Kingdom a 3.7 out of 5. EA took a weird direction with this game. The main focus of the MySims games is building and decorating. MySims Agents doesn't even have a building mechanic and is pretty much a detective game. It's a pretty weird idea for the series, but it kinda works. The main plot is that you are an ordinary guy that wants to become an agent, and you meet a random agent that's like, hey, you have potential, wanna work for me and stop this evil guy named Morcubus? And you're like, heck yeah! And pretty much you do detective stuff and try to find out what Morcubus is planning. Also find this girl named Evelyn's father. Now in order to solve mysteries, is obviously find clues. To find them, you need to find footprints, examine stuff, use tools to destroy things, climb obstacles, and salvage stuff. Also these puzzles, which I hated as a kid, because they were hard for me at the time, but now that I'm older, they're actually a lot easier than I remember. There are 4 different puzzle minigames. There's a pick locking game where you have to put the key into a slot, and in doing so you have to move these pillar-like things out of the way, but the yellow ones can only move vertically and the blue ones can only move horizontally. The other is hacking, which is about getting to the goal without getting out of the lines and make sure the line on the bottom doesn't run out of green. The other one is analyzing, which is to get all the dots out of the circles, and in doing so you have to connect another circle that will get rid of them and make sure none of them connect to an empty circle to a non-empty circle. It's actually, you know what, it's hard for me to even explain this. I have this script that I put on there, I'm like, I don't think I can, I don't think I can, yeah. The last one is repairing, which is to get red gears to move and the red wires to power up. You only have a few gears and wires, so you need to think about where to put them. Now, most of the culprits are so obvious because they get aggressive and tell you you have no proof. And if you ask them what they're doing, they're like, none of your business. I can't fault the writers for that, since MySims has a lot of characters that are ridiculous, and it doesn't seem like they're even trying to be mysterious. So I will let that slide. There was one mystery that I didn't know who the culprit was, but it's because he didn't appear until the very end of the mission. There's also this mystery that is sort of obvious, but not really. The mission was that someone broke a magic crystal and the clues led to the butler, but then realizing something was off, you then find more clues and find out he was mind controlled by the owner of the house. Even though there's always that trope that the butler did it, knowing the character, you wouldn't really assume that it's him, but also the other suspects seemed innocent, and you probably would think that it's him, and the owner of the house mind controlling is sort of a twist, but also thinking about it, it's pretty obvious. That's pretty much all I got to say about missions. Now let's go into dispatch missions. These missions are all about sending a team of recruits to help Sims in need while you are doing missions, and will call you and tell you about their progress. They'll also ask you what they should do, and you are given 2 options to choose, and hopefully you pick the right choice. The mission will either fail or succeed depending on the choices you make and the abilities the team has. Each sim has different abilities, and you boost the team abilities by decorating their rooms. The dispatch missions are really charming to read, and I love that they put details in the dialogue of each sim that relate to their mission. There were also times that they actually know who was on the team. For example, one of the teams had this rock star named Leaf, and I sent the team to help another rock star, and she was excited that I brought Leaf and was fangirling about him. The 2 things I don't like about this game is, 1, there are these 2D platform levels where you have to go through obstacles and move things around in order to get up to do different areas. They're pretty annoying and not that fun. The second is how the game ends. The game ends with a cliffhanger, and the only way to get the true ending is to do all the dispatch missions, which are fine. It's just that there's nothing else to do except find secrets, which makes that part of the game boring. Dispatch missions are fun when you're doing stuff. It felt like they rushed the ending because it's so weird how it ended. Morcubus opens a portal, Evelyn pushes him into a portal, and then your sim is like, I won't give up, I will save Evelyn! And then credits. That's how the game really ends. Sure, you do save her in the true ending, but dispatch missions are boring when you got nothing else to do. The last thing I haven't talked about is that Buddy is in this game, and just like MySims Kingdom, he's pretty useless. He was only helpful 3 times, 2 were for plot reasons, and 1 was a tutorial, but other than that, he's pretty useless, so there's no reason to talk to him. It's kind of annoying that in the story, when your sim tells you about the case, they're always like, hey, we found clues, and I'm like, no, I did all the clues, and all you did, buddy, was walk around and talk about useless information! Overall, this game was kind of fun. They took a weird direction with this, and I think they did pretty well with this idea. I just don't like the ending, and there isn't much to do after finishing the game, just like the other 2 games. I'll give it a 3.6 out of 5. My Sims Party is my least favorite game in the MySims series. I remember when I was in that MySims phase and was hesitant in buying the game until I saw that the back of the case said, you can customize your town. So I bought it. Well, that was false advertising. Based on the title of the game, you can tell it's a Mario Party clone, but it's more focused on minigames and doesn't have game boards. The minigames are... they're not horrible, but they're not great either. Sometimes they don't even make sense. There's also these events, like these things called festivals, where you play multiple games. The more you win, the more points you get. If you win the festival, you unlock playable Sims and have Sims move into your town. Customizing your town is weird. I can't tell if the case had false advertisement, or they don't give you as much options as the first game, because apparently you can build monuments, but I haven't unlocked that ability yet. Also, I can't remodel buildings or move them anywhere. You can, however, remodel your house, but the options seem limited. It's probably because I haven't unlocked some stuff yet. The last thing I wanted to talk about is that the worst part of the whole game is creating Sims. Why does it take so long every time I change appearance? At least the original game had an excuse. It was lagging all the time. Sometimes it doesn't even load for a long time. This game doesn't even have an excuse. It's a lot less laggy than any of the other games. I did want to unlock some of the areas of the town and sort of wanted to finish it just to see what happens at the end, but honestly I forgot to save and I don't feel motivated to go back and play those boring minigames. 2 out of 5. This game is my second least favorite of the series, mostly because the direction they went with this game made it not My Sims anymore. The plot is about your sim got into a mysterious plane crash and gets rescued by a group of fighter pilots. And your main objective is to stop the evil Morcabus for whatever he's doing. So you play as a fighter pilot in this game and do missions. The missions could either be dogfight, racing, and some objectives, and the way to complete it is to either be in first, second, or third. Now, dogfights and racing I think works with this idea, but for objectives, it's dumb. You have to be at a certain time, and it can be very frustrating since it's very hard to shoot things. I don't know if it's just me who's bad at the game, or the controls kinda suck when it comes to aiming. I think it would have been better if you just had a limited amount of lives and tried to survive, because at least I wouldn't be as frustrated as I am with having a time limit. My favorite part of the game, I will say, is customizing your plane. It has different varieties of customization. Something I didn't bring up about the games is that there are voice options for your sim, and you can choose either to be high or low. In this game, there's only one voice, and you can make it either high or low. I don't know why they limited that option. I'm not an expert in coding games, but I don't think it would be hard to have more voice options. Maybe it's because they wanted to focus more on the plane customization than the sim customization, because there wasn't much options for the sim either. They didn't even have the mouth that I used in every game, so I had to find a different one. The only thing I haven't talked about are the mechanics. So you shoot by holding A, and once the right bar on the bottom left gets full, you won't be able to shoot anymore until it's empty. There's also missiles you can shoot, and once you run out, you automatically reload. The last thing to talk about are the items, which are pretty much like how Mario Kart works. You get an item, you use it by pressing B, and they're all different abilities, and they can be helpful, but there are also some that are kind of trashy. That's pretty much it. There's also a multiplayer, but I haven't got into that, and it's pretty much the same thing as the main story. I don't think it's terrible, but it did take a lot of things I liked about the series, which is why it's my second least favorite. I'll give it a 2.3 out of 5. So yeah, that's all the games. Well, except for MySims Racing, but I never played it before, and I wanted to just review the games I played in the past. This was a fun experience. I really liked looking back to the games that I played in the past and talking about them. My favorite game from the series was definitely MySims Kingdom. Again, it took all the flaws from the first game and made it better, and the tasks were more interesting. I would love to see this series come back, but knowing what EA is now, I don't think they would bring it justice. But if they can, I'm here for it. I personally believe they should remaster the game, expand the town, and bring in some of the characters from the other games. Anyway, it's time to end the video. Thanks for watching. Now, if you excuse me, there's some animatics I need to work on.